Hello, happy Monday afternoon, early evening here in Sacramento as we gear up for the Kings and the Pelicans. First back-to-back for the Kings all season long begins tonight, coming off of arguably probably their best game of the season, best win of the year so far. Kings dealing with some injury issues. We'll get to those here in a few minutes. Pelicans also a little undermanned, more specifically, CJ McCollum. He is still out with the collapsed lung. So we'll break it all down for you. Grant will be back tonight. Jerry Reynolds and him at halftime. And then Grant and I wrap things up after the game. But first, this is the pregame show on If You Don't Like That.
3, 2, 1, go.
Sacramento miscue. Carter, stolen by Williams. And look at this. Oh, you don't like that. You don't like NBA basketball. Fox, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball. The exclamation point from De'Aaron Fox. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball. Boy, that's an ESPN highlight right there. Whoa. Carlson comes in. How about this? Holy moly, Jim Bob Bowley. That is a major league smudge.
Well, here we go. Can the Kings make it 7 in a row? Wow, 7 in a row, especially coming off the streak that they were playing so poorly without De'Aaron Fox. I'm going to get right to you guys in the comments. Sports Freak, I never know how to say the last part of it, hits the nail on the head. I was actually going to lead with this. The Pelicans are not the best matchup-wise for the Kings. Which matchups do the Kings need to exploit the most to keep the winning streak alive? P.S. I saw the beam last night from the YOLO Causeway. Nice. Were you driving on the YOLO Causeway, I'm guessing? That's cool. That would actually be a cool shot if you're coming from Davis into Sacramento on 80. New Orleans and Sacramento. It's really interesting because this game, and I know most NBA games are all about matchups, but specifically this one is matchup oriented and based for the Kings. And these games between the Kings and the Pelicans usually are decided by double digits, either the Kings winning or the Pelicans winning, because it's happened both ways last season. In fact, if you remember, the Pelicans last year handed the Kings probably their worst loss of the season early on in the season. I think it was the Kings' first significant road trip. But anyways, getting back to the question and the topic of matchups, you have to look at 3 different matchups. That's going to be New Orleans, their frontline center, Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. Those two are very difficult at times for the Kings to guard. And I say difficult, it's difficult when those guys are clicking, when those guys are hitting shots, especially Brandon Ingram. He can be very streaky. He's right around that 20, 22 points per game range. And Zion, right? He's a freak athlete. He's a guy that's had trouble staying on the court. He is playing tonight. I see that question from Waltz. But yeah, it's going to come down to Sabonis, Zion, how the Kings match up front court wise there. You're going to see probably some Harrison Barnes on Brandon Ingram. You're going to see Keegan Murray on Brandon Ingram. And what's going to be interesting to me, Sports Freak, is what both teams will do to exploit the matchups that they like. Will the Kings like the pick and roll or the dribble handoff more? If the Kings are killing them there, will the Pelicans run any zone defense? I mean, those are the questions that I want to see. But I think on both sides, you could argue each team feels like they have the advantage in the front court. And it'll come down to play tonight. And if the Kings are tired coming off of the big win last night, but front court matchups are the thing, the Kings should be okay guard-wise. Now, I say should because latest update is Kevin Huerter is still questionable for tonight. And then the Kings are without Keon Ellis also tonight. So that means Davion Mitchell is probably getting swung right back into that rotation. I know he got some minutes last night towards the end of the game. And then also expect just kind of a smorgasbord of Kings defenders and Kings guards off the bench. When I say, defenders, Kessler Edwards, we think about him defense first. He got in last night. He'll probably be looking at some minutes. And if Kevin plays, it's a sprained thumb. So, with sprained thumb, it's really just about comfort at that point, I would say. And where it's at on the finger too, especially for a shooter like Kevin following through. So time will tell on those matchups. So it's one of those things. It's going to be a good game. I expect a very good game. This New Orleans team is no pushover. They had a hot start. They got a little bit cold, and then they heated it up again. Now, their last game Saturday, they were up 14 on Minnesota in the fourth quarter. Minnesota is playing very good basketball this year, so they can get up on you, and that's a team that plays two bigs in Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. And so that's where I think it's really, you look at those two bigs. Towns plays a little bit more outside, Gobert inside. So it's different basketball for Minnesota. And I think the tall or the length causes sometimes the Pelicans a problem, specifically Zion. Kings don't have a ton of length, but, JaVale McGee coming off the bench, he's going to have to play good minutes without fouling because the Kings don't have really any depth there with Alex Len still out with the ankle injury. So matchups indeed. Let's see. Lolan gives the Kings a 26. That's really specific. 26% chance to win tonight just because they played yesterday. I don't know. I think the starters did get a little bit of a rest in the fourth quarter, at least the ones that we turn to every single night in Domas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. But I think it's a little bit higher than 26% chance. Now, climbing up a hill or a deficit early in this game, that's what will be challenging for the Kings. If you remember last night and even at halftime, Jerry Reynolds and I talked about this. I talked about it in the pregame. This isn't a game, especially for the Kings, that you can get down to you can't get down a large deficit at the beginning because you are on that back-to-back. And sometimes, we talked about, could the Kings last night make the Mavericks fold their 10 in and go home in the third quarter? And that's exactly what the Kings did because the Mavericks were on a back-to-back. So it's hard to judge what the Kings will do because it's their first one of the season. So I think that will give us a good barometer, but I think 26% is a little bit low in my book. Southern Justin, Iowa says this will be a great game. I can't wait. Yeah, I think it will be a great game. We got two great games tonight. You got the Kings and then also the Chiefs and the Eagles. So have your pick. Should be two really good matchups. Let's see. When did they? Sorry, trying to get this up here for you. It's Gabriel. When did they last win 7 in a row? Gabriel, I think it goes back to last season. I want to say they got to right around 9 wins in a row. It was that first stretch after. It was a continuation of the end of the first half of the season and then into the second half of the season after the All-Star break. They flirted with, I want to say, right around 9 or 10 wins. Or maybe it was 11. Maybe it was in double digits. I think it was because I called into Jim Rome when it got up that high. And I remember it being double digits and saying, oh, they're seeking like their 12th win or something like that. So last season for sure. And Grant and I talked about this on the 4 o'clock show. Not sure if you guys had a chance to check that out, or the 3 o'clock show with Sean Salisbury. Grant talked about how the Kings respond tonight, obviously on the back-to-back. But also what the rest of this road trip looks like. Have the Kings already seen their hardest matchups of the road trip now that they're still 3-0 with 3 more to go, or is the tougher half going to be the second half? If you look at the numbers, Grant's right. The tougher matchups are going to be the 2 in New Orleans and then the 1 at the end with Minnesota. But the way the Kings are playing and the way that they are rolling right now, I just don't see it slowing down unless the Kings slow themselves down. because offensively they are clicking at every single level. I mean, De'Aaron Fox, by the way, De'Aaron Fox, your Western Conference Player of the Week, 4th time in his career. He has been given that honor or earned that honor, I should say. And Sabonis, he even earned some votes. So to have two of those guys in there coming off of the streak the Kings had without Fox is totally huge for this team in terms of national recognition. It means people are paying attention to what this team is doing with Fox back on the court. So not exactly, that underdog living under a rock thing. I think people are taking notice of this team for sure. So let's see. Hopefully Grant will make it today. He had a DNP yesterday. Yeah. Grant will be here at halftime with Jerry Reynolds and I. And then after the game, Grant and I will be wrapping it up. We addressed that. We talked about if he was at Bennett's, what he would have eaten. We didn't get a chance to talk about some of the really good conversations last night about, Bibby Weber versus Sabonis Fox, etc. So it'll be fun to see if we can get into some of those tonight. Usually those happen when the Kings win. So, Paul, what is up, my man? Nothing much. Just running in between doing a couple things before the pregame show. My neighbors actually, I had to take something out. My neighbor stopped me like 5 minutes before the show started. I was like, I gotta go. And they're like, oh, one more thing. I gotta go. But yeah, other than that, just hanging out, getting ready to enjoy these two games on the docket tonight, or at least two games Kings fans are going to be watching. Let's see. Alberto, what's up, my man? I think the Kings manhandle the Pelicans tonight. Okay. Here's what I'll say. I think it's going to be a double-digit game, whichever team it may be, Pelicans or Kings, because I could see it going both ways. My gut tells me, I mean, you look at the numbers for the season with these two teams, they're pretty comparable. But what Sacramento's doing defensively is the change for this team. I mean, we were talking when De'Aaron was out about, like Mike Brown just saying the offense will always be there, right? We have to focus on defense. And we're thinking, how is the offense always going to be there? This team can't score without Fox. But what we were also not paying attention to was there was some good defensive performances, in that stretch. OKC comes to mind. That was a big game for the Kings to get back on the winning track. But getting back to how these teams match up, Kings averaging 117 per game. And you got the Pelicans at 112 per game. After that, 44.3 rebounds per game for the Kings, 43.5 for the Pelicans. You want to talk about a category that's going to be really important tonight? That's going to be one of them. Rebounding, not allowing second shots to the Pelicans. Zion, Valanciunas, and then also Brandon Ingram. Valanciunas can play. He can. He had, I think he had 26 the other night against Minnesota. So you got to watch out for him. But other than that, they are fairly evenly matched up. Kings 28.1 assists a game. Pelicans 24.8. So it goes on from there. Blocks 4.6. They're both tied there. So you look at it on paper, it's got all the makings of a very good one. Let's see. We got Rob getting in here. We can't afford to come out like we did against Spurs. Pelicans will make us pay 100%. Also, you can't afford to come out like the Spurs tonight because you're not on a day's rest or a couple days rest. You're on a back-to-back. It makes a difference. The Kings at times can be a jump shooting team. So Mike Brown finding the balance tonight between jump shooting and maybe trying to get Harrison Barnes more involved down low, which we saw they came out last night with a game plan to get Harrison involved early on, just didn't really work out. So I would try to go back to that because you can't rely on the jump shot tonight because those legs are going to get much heavier as the game wears along for the Kings. Because the one thing Mike Brown's not going to allow this team to do tonight is sacrifice pace, even though they are on a back-to-back. Now, that being said, the bench is a little bit thinner for Mike Brown to go to. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays that. But, I'm not going to question him. He's going to have a plan. Reason he's the reigning coach of the year in the NBA. Carf, what's up, my man? What type of rotation do you see Mike Brown having on back-to-back? you might see him go 11 deep. And I'm not talking about 11 guys playing 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. You might see, yeah, I could see 11 deep for sure. But maybe, spot duty here and there. Maybe it's Kessler Edwards for, last possession, second or first half kind of thing before halftime. But we'll see. We're 25 minutes away from the ball getting tipped up. So looking forward to that. Gabriel, he sprained his ankle. So the Kings dealing with just some bad luck right now. So and finger stuff going on. So it is what it is, but the Kings will adjust as they need to. I mean, it is a little bit more rough that it's on a road trip. You'd like for those things to happen when you're on a homestand, even though you don't want them to happen at all. But they will be ready. Hopefully Davion feels the need to prove himself tonight. I'm not saying he proved himself in one possession last night, but the fact that he came off the bench in the third quarter and had a really nice defensive play against Kyrie Irving. Kyrie tried to just basically ISO him, and Davion made him take a very difficult shot towards the end of the shot clock. So to me, that means he's staying ready. And it's a trend that we've seen it's a signature of this Kings team. More times than not, when guys end up, for whatever reason, falling out of the rotation or not getting the minutes they usually play, or maybe have 2 DNPs in a row, that third night or that first opportunity they get to be back on the court, they come out and it looks like they are playing with, aggression. They're ready. They prepared themselves just like they were going to play 48 minutes that night. Seen it from Sasha at times. We've seen it from JaVale McGee. We've seen it from Davion in that possession last night. So, yeah, I don't expect his offense to improve. I mean, that's going to be an added bonus, but defensively, he's going to be fine. And again, the Kings have the advantage tonight with the Pelicans from the backcourt. So, yeah, ankle sprain yesterday. So right on it for us. Let's see, Paul, what's up? Got to be physical and make them run. Yeah, they're athletic enough to run. They're going to push the pace on their own as well. But you got to be physical. I mean, nobody right now can stop Sabonis. Nobody. And Jerry talked about it at halftime. He's like, look, is this like really the second best duo in the NBA behind Murray and behind Jokic? I think it is. And I know we don't want to look at it through our Kings blinders and, have more love for them than they really deserve, but they deserve it. I mean, those two together bring the best out of each other. So, and that begins with Domas. He gets to be Domas doesn't have to worry about initiating the offense and running and orchestrating the offense when De'Aaron Fox is in the lineup. That's on De'Aaron. Domas gets to go back down low and do his thing. So, yep, let's go Kings indeed. 1-2 ending the road trip, 3-3. Interesting. Would you consider that a failure? So they would end the road trip going 4-2 for the road trip. So no, I would not see that as a failure. Not at all. We came into it saying we would take 4-2, 5-1. Some people are pushing the envelope. I think Anita said 5-1. So there from a standpoint that we're looking at it, they're playing with house money, right? I think a lot of fans feel that way to a degree. But for this team to take that next jump and become that contender that all of us think they can be, they need to go 4-2 minimum, 5-1, 6-0. I mean, those are the things that will take this team to the next level. And again, this is a long time. I know we're only 12 games into the season, but this is a long time to be only having your first back-to-back game. What that tells me is the schedule is backloaded with back-to-backs for the Kings because their strength of schedule was I think it was in the top 5 in the NBA. And the weighted aspect of that is back-to-backs. So that tells me they're going to have a few more. So let's see how they respond tonight, especially after a game that they did, or the game they had last night in Dallas. So Rhino, no, I know what you're going to say. Where's the sack logo on the shirt? Don't do me. That holy moly without Jim Bob Bully. Yeah, no sack logo tonight. But we will bring those back for sure. I got plenty of sack merch to rock. I'm going black classic Nike. Let's see. Pels are 6 and 7. Yes, they are. Thank you for adding that in. That would be news to me. Anybody want to touch on that? I have not seen anything along those lines. Nolan, any rumblings on Herder being able to play? Let me check really quick while we are on the air, see if any further updates. It usually comes right about now when we're doing the show. So bear with me 2 seconds. So Jose Alvarado will be playing for the Pelicans. He's going to make his season debut. He is a quick little point guard that he hustles his tail off. In fact, they call him Grand Theft Alvarado. So watch him. He could be one of those guys that could cause a few issues for the Kings. Sasha is out. So we didn't touch on Sasha. That's what I meant to say when we were talking about the front line. Sasha, due to a thumb issue, he is out tonight. So Kings really thin on the front line. Really important that Domas, really important that McGee, they do not get into foul trouble. And more than that, really important that Keegan Murray shows up, because Keegan Murray has to stay on the court tonight. There's no ifs, ands, ors about it. He has to be a factor. And throw in Harrison Barnes. We say it all the time, and I know I led with it, but Harrison has to be a factor now that Sasha is not going to be playing. I don't see anything on Kevin Huerter as of this minute. If you guys have seen different, let me know. Yeah, I don't think that it's true either about Klay Thompson. So don't pick the Pelicans. I didn't say I was picking the Pelicans, guys. Come on. In fact, I'm excited to light the beam too tonight. Kings win tonight. It's going to be a close game. They pull away fourth quarter, end up winning between 9 and 11 points on the road. Grant is not at vacation. He is back here tonight. He was here for the 3:00 show with Sean Salisbury. So make sure that you check in on that. That was fun. Talking about football and previewing tonight. Who backs up Sasha? Well, you look at the Kings roster right now, they've got limited choices. Had they known, excuse me as I readjust, that this was going to present, they probably would have brought somebody back up from the D-League. Another guy that you would think of right now is Colby Jones. So Colby can play that 2-3, even 1 sometimes. This is where the Kings, depending on how they set the tone and how they come out and guard Zion and they guard Brandon Ingram, they can set the tone on how this game plays out. Basically, they need to run. They need to be more aggressive. They need to bang down low. And they need to take Zion and Brandon Ingram out of their element. Because although those guys are talented in their own right, the Kings can out-physical those guys. So getting back to your question, who backs up Sasha? You've got Keegan that's starter there. You got Harrison that's the other starter forward. Then you got Sasha. Trey Lyles still out. So that is where it hurts. It really hurts because Trey Lyles, even with Sasha in the lineup, he's such a big factor for what the Kings want to do and what they can do, how they can be even better offensively. So that's why I say they're thin. Then you look at the centers. Alex Len, out. You look at JaVale McGee, in, but sometimes can get into foul trouble. Not the most athletic. JaVale's not at a point in his career where he's geared to play a 35-minute game on a back-to-back. He's just not, in my opinion. So they're thin at the forward position. I mean, at the very least, maybe you would have brought up Keita from the D League. So Kessler, you bring up Kessler, he can play 2-3 sometimes. A very small lineup. You could stretch him a little bit to the 4. So the Kings are going to, have to. This happens. It happens. They didn't experience it last year. It's not a surprise that they might not be playing with those guys tonight to the team. So, they probably have game planned the best way that they can for this. But so that's exactly what I was saying, Paul. Kobe will slide into some 3 action a little bit. And Keegan can actually, not Keegan, but Harrison can play a little bit bigger too. So it's going to be all hands on deck for the Sacramento Kings tonight. There is no doubt about that. Hey, wanted to let you know, especially with Thanksgiving coming up, if you are one of those families that doesn't like to cook on Thanksgiving, you just want to kick back, relax, watch football, and hang out, give Bennett's a call. They're doing fully prepared Thanksgiving dinners. They've done them in the past, and they are absolutely spectacular. So here's the thing about those. They only have so many. So go to Bennett's website or give them a call. Give their Rockland location a call, Roseville location a call, or their Sacramento location off of Howe and Fair Oaks, and see if you can get your name on that list for a fully cooked and prepared Thanksgiving dinner. Besides that special, obviously, Bennett's prime cuts of seafood steak. Just a fabulous menu, fabulous owner and team there. Brian Bennett and his staff, just some of the best service you'll ever have. Give them a call, get some takeout, go in for some brunch, get some prime rib special on the weekend, whatever fits your fancy. Bennett's is the place to do it. And if you're going to have a holiday party this year or a work party, give Bennett's a call. They have private dining rooms as well that can cater to your parties. So, we love Bennett's. We know you guys love it too as well, and we appreciate it. So, if you go into Bennett's, tell them you heard about them here on the show. We appreciate it. And getting picked up here, Herder is out. That does not surprise me now, seeing it was such a late scratch. So my guess is Duarte will be starting again at the 2 guard, which, hey, all 5 starters were almost in double digits before the end of the first half last game. So I'm good with it. Jerry referenced the fact that Chris Duarte plays so well, or has played so well in the past, opposite of Sabonis. And for whatever reason, it works. I don't know if it's just a continuity thing. He seemed to take to Sabonis his rookie year in Indiana. So it's working out so far for the Kings in that starting role. So look for him to get in there. Yeah. So here we go. We're starting to get the questions and the worries. Guys are tired. Sasha is out. Tonight, we depend on Herder. If he's not going to deliver, we'll lose the game. Anyways, unfortunately, I think tonight we're going to lose a big spread. I don't think so. Herder's not playing, as we just said, but I think, so somebody's saying, Lids is saying Herder's good to go. All right, you guys, I'm going to double check one more time my source, but I was going off of what you guys said, that Herder was not going to play. So, yeah, I'm not seeing anything about Herder playing or not playing on my source. So you guys have better sources than me. Baki, back me up here, buddy. I know that you are looking online as well. Will you do me a favor, even though I'm not wearing my King stuff? Thanks, bud. Really appreciate it. Okay, so Herder is playing. All right, so it gives you a little bit more depth, posted by him. Thank you. So Herder is playing then. Cool. It's a go. But it doesn't change anything. Duarte's still going to get heavy minutes tonight. It's going to be a team effort. Guys are going to have to play at positions they don't normally play at certain times during the game. But ultimately, again, if the Kings can take care of the glass, the Kings can win the battle inside, and the Kings don't solely rely on jump shots, they're going to win this game. And they've got to keep their assist turnover ratio up. We like to see it anywhere between 2-1 or 3-1. And that's right. They've been right around 3-1 in the games that they have won on this win streak. So yeah, we're pretty much all set and ready to go. C-Dog checking in. What's up, my man? C-Dog's going to be doing some pregame with me here as the season goes along. Do Fox and Sabonis continue their tear tonight? Yes, they do. 100%. Those are two guys that just don't. You talk about being tired on a back-to-back. Those are two guys that don't get tired. I mean, De'Aaron Fox missed, what was it? It was 5 games, I want to say, with the ankle. He looked like he hadn't missed a beat his first game back, and it's not an easy thing to do to stay in NBA shape when you can't do the cardio traditionally like you would because of an ankle injury. So he's going to be fine. Sabonis, he's a tank. He is a walking double-double. I saw a stat today, and I don't want to screw it up, so I'll save it for later in the show. But basically, it was right around 88% of his games here in Sacramento, he's had a double-double. Think about that for a second. He's played over 100 games in Sacramento. So here it is. 88 of his 106 games in Sacramento have been double-doubles. That's 83%. So, yeah, they're going to bring it. I don't see this being one of those less than 20 games, 18 games where he doesn't. I think those 18 games are right in where he got injured. I think those are right in when he hasn't had Fox. So, yeah, and probably the playoffs as well. He struggled mightily in the playoffs against Golden State. So, Kings-Pelicans getting ready to tip off from New Orleans here in a few minutes. We are doing the pregame show here on If You Don't Like That. I'm Ryan in Sacktown. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up as well. Tell a friend. We really appreciate it. Grant and Jerry will be here at halftime. I promise you, no DNP for Grant tonight. He will be back with Jerry Reynolds to break down the first half, and then Grant and I will wrap the night up on the post-game show tonight. We'll take one more question from Baki. Monk, besides Herter on the three-point line, warming up and shooting. Yeah, Monk has been shooting a lot better from beyond the arc. Now, that being said, a few of his shots have been those shots that are like, no, yes, okay. You know, like, as a coach, he could have easily pulled Monk out for taking bad shots. And he ended up making them, but a couple games before, when games were in doubt, Malik took bad shots and Mike Brown pulled him out. So the fact that those shots are going in, it's good, helps the Kings, but you don't want to see that same shot selection in a time where the Kings need to get a good shot. And if you do want to talk about an Achilles heel for this team so far this year, that is just it. It's the way that they take bad shots at critical times, or they don't take shots at all and they turn it over, whether it be a shot clock violation or a turnover, step on the end line, pass to the other team, travel, etc. So I would expect Monk will continue the hot streak. Herter, I can't say. It depends on that finger. And, you know, Mike Brown's going to have a quick trigger. So anyways, we are going to get ready to wrap up here in just a second. I know, Baki. They're on the floor. Warming up. Looks like Herter's going to go. Thank you, buddy. That is the 100% verification that I needed. C-Dog's right. Going to be flipping back and forth between Kings, UConn, and USA Soccer game. Connor, you're not flipping back and forth between football too? Wow. Interesting. All right. Good for you. UConn is playing in the Maui Invitational, right? Correct me if I'm wrong there. But anyways, we'll talk about all that later tonight. Remember, Grant and Jerry here at halftime on If You Don't Like That. Thank you so much for joining me here on the pregame show. Can't wait to see you guys all at halftime with Grant and Jerry, and then Grant and I wrap things up after the game. Kings, Pelicans, enjoy the game tonight, Kings fans. Kings, in my opinion, will be lighting the beam. Close game. At the end of the game, Kings pull away, 9-11 point win. Here we go. Enjoy the game. Enjoy football. We'll see you back at halftime. So long.